All right, good people, welcome back to Control the Narrative. I'm Tonya McKenzie, and today we are talking about the WNBA. Not the basketball, though, not the growth, not the expansion team or the TV deals. No, that's not what we're talking about. We are talking about how a league in the middle of its biggest moment in history just let an ESPN profile turn into a full blown communications crisis that, ooh, got bugs over here, that nobody is managing. So let's get into it. All right. On July 21st, ESPN published a profile on Indiana Fever guard Sophie Cunningham. Y'all know who she is, right? Well, maybe you didn't know who she was before, but she's the notorious finger pointing chick. Yeah, she got a lot of attention for pointing her finger at a black woman. And why that was so spectacular to some people, I absolutely have no idea. But I'll never forget that. It was July 21st. So, all that being said, Sophie, she has really been in her attention bag lately, and it's been interesting to watch. Anyway, she went to ESPN. It was a standard piece, and in that interview, Sophie said she wanted to protect young girls in the locker room and that young girls shouldn't have to go against biological men. Makes sense, right? 2 days later, TMZ followed up and Sophie doubled down. Yeah, she went in hard on it. Okay. I said what I said. She got the finger pointing. She got the I said what I'm saying. I said what I said. Okay, Sophie, I see you. I said what I said. It's common sense. Now, I'm not here to tell you whether Sophie Cunningham is right or wrong on the trans athlete debate. That's not what I'm talking about. If she's right or wrong. The conversation happening everywhere is this instead of what's going on with the WNBA. What I'm here to tell you is that what happened after the interview is a communications disaster at every level. And the people who should be studying it the hardest are the ones who created it. It's literally bananas. Let me walk you through the damage, okay? Let me just explain this to you. This is like a crisis autopsy, okay? Let's start with Sophie. Sophie Cunningham made a polarizing public statement on one of the most divisive issues in sports and culture right now. Okay. And she did it with no communications infrastructure behind her, no prepared follow up messaging, no alignment with her agent or her team, no PR person helping her with anything. She's just out here freestyling, no anticipation of what was coming next. And what came next was entirely predictable. Her head coach, Stephanie White, went to the media and said there's frustration. Okay. She literally said there's frustration. Not behind closed doors. Hello, to the press. That tells you the player and the organization were not on the same page before the ESPN piece even dropped. That's a problem. That is a problem. Then it got worse. Sophie's childhood best friend and podcast co host, Wes Wilson, went on TikTok and publicly disagreed with her. He basically trolled her on TikTok. Okay. He did a whole session about how wrong she was. He said that Sophie was what she was saying wasn't the truth. She called out right wingers co opting the message. Now I want you to sit with that for a minute. Okay. Think about that. Her best friend came out against her on TikTok. That's crazy. Your business partner, the person you share a platform and a brand with, went to a public platform and publicly contradicted you. Okay. That tells me there was no conversation before Sophie just went buck wild on a public platform. She ain't talked to nobody. No publicist, no best friend who they share a brand with, no coach, no NBA people, WNBA people, just nobody. I'm just doing my thing. Okay. It's like a grenade with no plan for the shrapnel. And then the outside group showed up. Organizations on both sides started using the Fever Games as their own stage, right? Rallies in Seattle, Portland, Minnesota, signs, megaphones, the whole production. Sophie and the Fever both said they had no connection to any of it. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. When outside groups start organizing around your story, Sophie, around your story, you've already lost control of the narrative. And you know, we are all about the narrative here. We're all about the narrative. The images from those rallies became the story, not basketball. Again, basketball, the WNBA has lost the narrative because Sophie has completely taken over it with the grenade that she threw. And she's just out here freestyling. Not Sophie's actual words, but she said the rallies, those aren't her problem. I didn't invite them. What? Girl, you're crazy. Now let's talk about the Indiana Fever's response, okay? They put out a statement. And let me tell you, the statement was like unseasoned boiled chicken. I can't get away from that because that's what it felt like. And I'm going to read you part of it because I need you to hear how empty it was. They said their players are thoughtful adults with their own perspective and voices, and their views are their own. It was less than vanilla, okay? They said the organization is committed to welcoming fans from every background and treating everyone with respect. I'm sorry. That's not crisis communications. That's like a template form letter. That statement could apply to literally any controversy about any player at any time. It was so less than vanilla. It said nothing. It was so empty. It addressed nothing. It satisfied absolutely no one. And it sure didn't get ahead of the protests because they kept coming. They were already planned, locked and loaded for the road games. It was that crazy. Now, let's go up one level. The WNBA commissioner, Kathy Engelbert, oh, God. She put out a statement condemning racism, misogyny, homophobia, harassment, and threats directed at players. And that's valid. The online abuse was real, okay, and it was ugly. But here's what the league didn't address: the actual fracture that was going on even in their own locker rooms. When your coaches are wearing trans kids belong shirts on the sidelines, like Cheryl Reeves did in Minnesota, when your players are getting booed on every single touch during the game, when reporters are asking post-game questions that have nothing to do with the game, you don't have an online abuse issue. You have an institutional alignment problem. Y'all ain't aligned on nothing. And a statement about internet trolls doesn't fix the problem that Sophie started. Her statement isn't the problem. Again, the statement and her views aren't the problem, but her plan and her communication strategy and the WNBA strategy is lacking. It's so lackluster. Oh my God. All I'm telling you, all I can think about is unseasoned boiled chicken. All these raggedy statements that's flying around, like who the hell is it advising y'all? And y'all got enough money to have a top comms person working with y'all. But these statements are like, oh God, they're so terrible. They're just terrible. The Ringer published a piece with the headline that the WNBA's best strategy was to just ignore it. Okay, let's just ignore it. And you know how I feel about it. Silence is surrender. Let me say that again. A major sports publication said the league's approach was to pretend this wasn't happening. Hello. That's not a strategy. That's a surrender. Silence is surrender. Please understand that. Now, in the middle of all this chaos, one did the right thing. finally. And it wasn't the league, it wasn't the team, it wasn't the agents or the PR people. It was Caitlin Clark. Of all people, it was Caitlin Clark. After the Fever loss to the Lynx on August 2nd, a reporter asked Clark about Sophia's comments, and she said, I think it's above my pay grade. Listen, Caitlin, uh, I don't even know what to say at this point. Caitlin Clark, that was good. Okay. She said she thought it was above her pay grade. She said it's, the league and governing body, it's their job. They're handling it. And when the reporter pushed for more, she shut it down. She redirected it back to basketball. The response was the single smartest communications move anybody has made in this whole saga. Okay. She gave nothing away. She didn't alienate either side. She didn't throw her teammates under the bus. She didn't take the bait, okay? And this is how I train my athletes. She kept the focus on what she could control. Basketball. That's not dodging. That's discipline. That's media training in action. But that also lets you know that Caitlin knows how this works. So when she's avoiding questions about her racist fan base, hello, you know she's doing that on purpose. She knows what's going on around her. She is literally avoiding dealing with it. But that's a whole different conversation for another time. Anyways, at that moment, that was media training in action. And that is exactly what control the narrative, control the camera is built on, for its understanding and knowing what to say, how to say it, and when to say absolutely nothing. Okay. Let me zoom in for a second because this isn't just about Sophie. The WNBA is in the biggest growth window of its history. Okay. Expansion teams, record TV ratings, new corporate sponsors lining up with real money. The league has worked for decades to get to this point. This is a great moment for the WNBA. Let's keep it a buck. And right now, the dominant conversation around the WNBA is not the basketball. It's not even the players. It's not the finals race. It's a culture war that the league did not prepare for. For First of all, that's dumb. Okay. You know that this is a conversation that's going on in society right now. So your comms team should always be ahead of this. But I digress. That's not what the conversation is around WNBA right now. It should be basketball. It should be the finals chase. It should be MVPs and all these different end of the season things that are going to happen. Instead, we're talking about culture wars. Outside organizations on both sides are now using WNBA arenas as protest stages. Hello. That means the league has lost control of its own venues. Coaches are publicly taking sides. Players are being weaponized by movements they didn't sign up for. And the front office is releasing statements that read like they were generated by a template, by AI, if I should say so. You know what I'm saying? I mean, look at this. Look at this. They are look, they got these signs going on. They are organized. They are doing the damn thing. Definitely taking the focus off what it should be on. They're not focused on the league. They're not focused on the players. They're not focused on even some of the nonprofit work that they're doing. Like some of these girls are doing incredible work, but instead, this is what we're dealing with. Ooh, fun. The question is not, is Sophie Cunningham right or wrong? I want to make that clear. The question is, who at the WNBA is responsible for making sure the league's growth story doesn't get swallowed whole by a controversy that nobody prepared for? Dude, her coach is so freaking annoyed right now. And I'd be so mad, dude. I'd be like, what? We got to fight. We got to fight. What are you doing? Girl, what are you doing? You know better. Anyways, that's Because right now, the person either doesn't exist or that can do this job. They think the person doesn't exist that can do this job because it's a job that needs to be done, and they're just acting like we're just gonna keep doing what we do and ignore. No, you can't ignore this when they're organizing protests. Hello, is anybody listening? Hello, this is crazy. So, what do you learn from this? Okay, let's just get to it. What do you learn from this? Four things, and then I'll let you out of here. One, if you know your stance is polarizing, hello, you build your communications infrastructure before you go public. Prepared follow up statements. That's what PR people do. That's what we do. When we know our clients are about to do something that's wild and that's going to have us all scratching our heads, we get these messages prepared, the good, the bad, and the ugly. That's literally our job. Okay. Prepared follow up statements, messaging aligned with your team and your business partners. This is what we do. Okay. And if you have a company or a brand and you know you might say something that's polarizing, you should have these things prepared. You should. But they know this. They're not new to this. Anticipated counter responses should be crafted and waiting in a vault, saved on your computer. You don't walk into the fire and then start looking for the extinguisher. You just know. Come on. That's control the mic. That's how we control the mic. Number two, listen, your organization needs a real crisis playbook, not a template statement. The Fever's response could have been copy and pasted from a PR textbook. It was terrible. It was terrible. There wasn't even no customization around it. It's like, what are y'all doing? It addressed nothing real. Okay. It satisfied no one. That's not communications. That's compliance. Number three, silence is a strategy, but it's a bad one. Caitlin Clark's silence worked because it was disciplined and she was able to redirect it. Being able to redirect it to what's important, which was basketball at the time. The WNBA's silence didn't work because it looked like avoidance. Avoidance is different than redirection. Hello? There's a difference between choosing not to speak and having nothing to say. 4, when outside groups start organizing around your story, you've already lost the narrative. The rallies at Fever games should have been anticipated the moment that ESPN profile went live. They weren't. Nobody was ready. And now those images are defining the conversation. Might I show you that again? Might I show you that again? Hello? These are the images. There's many. Sophie's words don't mean much right now. Not the league's growth. The protests are taking up all the freaking oxygen in the room. This is not about taking sides on trans athletes in sports. I want to be clear about that. This is about understanding that in 2026, every public statement by a public figure is a communications event. Okay? Period. And if you don't have a plan for what comes after you say what you say, someone else will plan and say it for you. And I promise you, you will not like their version. Okay? If you don't control the narrative, the streets will, and it will not be in your favor. Listen, I'm Tonya. Tonya's my name, and controlling the narrative is my game. If you're an athlete, a founder, a leader, an organization, and you need crisis communications, media training, or someone in the room who's going to tell you the truth before the internet does, DM me. Let me know what you need. Let me know if you're dealing with a public maligning right now. If someone is chewing you up in the media right now, if someone is publicly trying to take you down at this moment, DM me. I want to hear about it and I'll see if I can help. Anyways, subscribe to Control the Narrative newsletter on Substack. Follow me on Instagram, Tonya McKenzie PR. And if the pressure is already on, you know where to find me. Until next time, like I said, control the narrative before the narrative controls